Hi out there, all you beautiful internet people, and welcome back to another snazzy video. Today I figured it was finally time to go over some of the most common comments and remarks about my web series, Hypnagogic Archive. For the past 2 years, at this point, 2 years, I've been watching the comment section of both of Wendigoon's Hypnagogic Archive videos, picking up on things that are said about the series and common questions, common complaints, common remarks. I just figured it was finally time to sort of respond to all of them. As the creator of Hypnagogic Archive, I figured it was time to put some of these questions to rest, explain myself a little, and just kind of, interact with my fan base, because I know you're out there, I know you love HA, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to consume, so I'm going to respond to some of what you have to say here. What's really interesting is if you scan a comment section of about 5,000 comments across 2 years, you notice that a lot of the same things keep popping up. People tend to be very repetitive, like weirdly repetitive, and they don't tend to go through the entire comment section to make sure that like someone hasn't already said what they say. So you just end up with a bunch of people saying the same shit over and over again, which kind of speaks to the homogeneity of the internet. It's not very common, I find, like a unique comment in any of these comment sections, but nonetheless, it's fascinating to have 10,000 plus people talking about one of my works. So yeah, I figured just a simple response. I'll explain some things, elaborate some things. Here are 10 points in no particular order. Okay, first point that I see repeated on and on and on. This is probably one of the most common things you'll see said in either of the Hypnagogic Archive comment sections. This is just like Archive 81 / Magnus Archives. I'm putting both of these in the same category. The comparisons to Archive 81 were more common back in the early days, but that's a shitty Netflix series, so of course it has zero staying power, and nobody even probably remembers it anymore. It was this awful, like really schlocky, cheap-looking show about VHS tapes and like haunted VHS tapes, except, of course it's Netflix, so all the footage is like fake VHS filter crap, and the main guy is like, he's like tasked with like putting a VHS tape back together or something. And the trailer makes it seem like it's this crazy job that nobody can do. He's like hired to like fix the VHS tape. Like, wow, you're an expert. You're the only one who can put this VHS tape back together. It's like a VHS tape is just 2 wheels in a fucking rectangle. Like a kindergartner could fix a VHS tape. That's how simple they are. So this got compared to that series all the fucking time. And I guess that's just because, it's got VHSs in it. It's got Archive in the name. That show looks like ass. The other comparison that gets made non-stop is Magnus Archives, and again, that's just because Archive is in the name, and people probably haven't seen something like Videodrome. I'd say the biggest inspiration on Hypnagogic Archive is actually Videodrome. There isn't really any one particular inspiration for any of it, but like I do remember the first time I saw Videodrome, I was like, yeah, I want to make something kind of like this. But people don't ever compare Hypnagogic Archive to Videodrome, which is weird, because they're very, very similar stories. Magnus Archives, coincidentally, has a character called Elias, but it's British, so I don't know what people see in Hypnagogic Archive that reminds them, like, at all of Magnus Archive, because it's a podcast. Magnus Archive looks fucking stupid, and it's not the type of horror content that I would personally consume. If you're into it, then whatever, I guess. I just don't know why, like, British things are all anyone consumes anymore. Everyone's like, Edgar Wright is my favorite director. Oh boy, I love Doctor Who. I don't really get it. I think, like, it's embarrassing that we as Americans don't, like, consume our great minds, like Neil Cassidy and King Casey and all these great writers of our times. No one reads Kurt Vonnegut anymore. I think what it is, Britain has a universal basic income, so the artists over there are a lot less economically stressed They can just sit down and write a bunch of crap and film a bunch of crap. And we here in America can't really do that. Every artist I know is just like completely stressed out and working 5 retail jobs. But, you know, that's not to say I condone the British system or anything. To get that universal basic income, you have to relocate to a monarchist ethno state, and that's not anything that I would ever endorse. So as far as the Magnus archives go, I don't think that's an apt comparison at all. I never even heard of this thing before people started comparing Hypnagogic Archive to it. And I guarantee Hypnagogic Archive is cooler, because it's not a fucking podcast, you know, it's like an actual like series, and it's actually like shit goes on. So yeah, just maybe stop listening to Magnus Archives. It sounds like ass. But if you do like it, that's okay, I guess. Just please stop comparing it to Hypnagogic Archives. The two have like literally nothing in common. Okay, point 2. This one comes up a little less, but it still comes up a fair bit. Unfounded wastewater speculation. These are comments that go like, oh, I bet the wastewater is running under the Hypnagogic Archive, or it's making people do weird things when they drink it, or so on. All this is not true. Canonically, the Where Does Wastewater Go story is just a shitpost. It doesn't mean anything. I made it up on a whim. But it was very instrumental in making the early Hypnagogic Archive look and feel like a big internet hodgepodge, you know, because that's what it's supposed to be. So I knew from the outset that I'd have to add a little humor to the series to kind of set it apart and make it distinct, give it a little character, a little flair, a little edge. So that's why I did. But it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't tie into the larger story or anything. There is at one point in what is it, Viewpoints? Yeah, the Viewpoints video. Ellis, yeah, it's Ellis's character goes up to the grate in hygiene, zooms in on the water. It just happens that was a thing in hygiene when I was up there, but it's just a fun little Easter egg. Where does wastewater go? It's just for funsies. You know, I'm glad people have a good giggle at it, because it's a masterpiece of mine, and I'm very proud of it. But it doesn't have anything to do with the Hypnagogic Archive. If you can figure something out, heck, tell me. Let me know. But I don't know. Okay, number 3. This is a pretty common comment I see in Windagoon's videos. Getting angry about the ads. Like, oh no, this VPN is a data harvesting scheme. This VPN that sponsors Windagoon. And to that I just say, if you don't like ads, then come on over here to the small independent side of YouTube. You know, people with like less than 50,000 subscribers, and you'll see less annoying ads put everywhere. But, you know, if you watch the big guys, the big boys, like Windagoon and whatever, you're going to be seeing ads for AirUp and fucking Raid Shadow and VPNs left and right. You're not going to get a break from that, because they just love money, I guess. They just love getting sponsors and ads and stuff. And I've never had so much as one inquiry about advertising in my email. So nobody's ever been like, hey Nick, you want to sponsor AirUp? AirUp's never dropped into my inbox and been like, yo, we gotta have this guy shilling our shitty fucking drink replacement scam. You know, I don't fucking breathe drinks. I just go out and buy a fucking Dr. Pepper like a normal person. But, you know, if you're upset about ads, it's not really Windagoon's fault. You know, he has to make a paycheck, get used to it, or just watch other videos like this, because I don't put ads on my videos. Even once I get big enough to do that, I'm not going to do it, because there's just not products out there that like I actually like, that seem to be like common on YouTube. It's all like meal replacement, here's HelloFresh. No, I'm just going to go with Burger King, thank you. Anyway, moving on. Number 4 in the Hypnagogic Archive comments is I dissociate / see the Hat Man. Yet another twofer here. Lots of people either relate to Genetic Opportunity because it reminds them of some kind of dissociation episode, or they've seen the Hat Man, or occasionally both. When I made Genetic Opportunity, I thought it was like a really wacky sci-fi scenario this guy experiences like 1 and 2 year time skips in his life and he doesn't remember anything that's happened. But apparently this is just life for some people. And I don't know what dissociation is. Apparently a lot of Gen Z experiences it. I don't know if it's related to internet use or what. Some of these comments mention that they take cough syrup to see the Hat Man, the dimethatide challenge or whatever. Don't do that. That's stupid. But yeah, some of these people like seriously dissociate, and I guess that's just like a common thing. Which I have to wonder, you know, if you just have like year-long chunks of time in your life that you have no recollection of, that's really not much of a way to live. I don't know how people live like that. I mean, I wrote the story again as kind of a far out there tale. I had no idea that this was like a real thing. The other bit, of course, is that people have seen the Hat Man, which is awesome, and I kind of expected that more so. I've never seen the Hat Man or experienced sleep paralysis, actually. I just think he's a cool fucking character. I'm glad to incorporate him into my mythos, and then, you know, he'll be adopted into other mythos, and also, you know, whenever anyone mentions the Hat Man, they can go, oh, like in Hypnagogic Archive. I didn't invent him, but, you know, he is a nice public domain character, so I'm glad to be able to incorporate him. Fascinating antagonist. You can read my comic, The Divine Tapestry, for more about him. I'm really trying to develop the Hat Man mythos. I personally think the Hat Man is cooler than Slender Man, and so I'm trying to really like work him in there and get a Hat Man mania going. But yeah, it's cool that you get to see the Hat Man. I mean, next time you see him, say hi for me, you know? I can't see him. I'm incapable of having a nightmare. I have all my nightmares when I'm awake. Okay, next common Hypnagogic Archive remark or comment is misgendering Opal. Now, this isn't too common, but it happens a fair amount. Is that the story Call and Response Trial and Error, there's the character of Opal, and she meets the Hat Man and all that. And in the comments, everyone calls her a boy. I forget if Wendigoon specifically referred to the character as he. But yeah, I just find it weird that people assume the gender of a character. Like in the story, the protagonist's gender is never really specified because it's kind of irrelevant to the story. But I never expected so many people to just assume that because the gender of a person is not stated in the story, that they just assume by default that it's a boy. Like, no, it's a girl. I didn't know that was a thing. It's not supposed to be like a plot twist or anything. In the beginning, she's playing soccer, so I guess some people just think girls don't play soccer or something. But yeah, that's a weird thing that pops up more than I would expect, is that people just assume that if there's a character and it never says he or she, I never say they, because it's from the first person, so, you know, it's from Opal's perspective, but I just find it weird that people always assume that a character is a guy unless, like, explicitly stated otherwise. That's kind of weird and speaks to something weird generally in society. I don't know exactly what, but it's just weird that so many people assume that this character is a guy. It could be non-binary for all you know, but no, it's a girl. It's Opal. That's pretty obvious. Again, I forget if Wendigoon makes that mistake or not, but if so, then his video kind of misleads a lot of people. But a lot of people seem to make this mistake just like on their own. So I don't know what's up with that. Next up, we got the classic complaint: herons don't have teeth. This one is said all over in Wendigoon's comment section. Yo, do you know that herons don't have teeth? Herons don't have teeth. Also, some comments about how, like, a heron isn't physically massive enough to overpower a grown woman or whatever. But I know herons don't have teeth. For the record, I own chickens, so I know that birds don't have teeth. Actually, some birds do have teeth. You can look it up. They're not like technically teeth, but they're like similar structures, and it's kind of creepy. But yeah, some birds do, like geese, but chickens don't, herons don't, I think. But, that's not really the point. I specifically wrote in the line about the heron having teeth because that's a creepy, out of place thing for a heron to have. And I guess that kind of flew over some people's heads, but yeah, that's entirely intentional. That's completely by design that the heron has teeth. I'm interested in how people are scared of birds. You go all over in like mythology and folklore and stuff, and people are actually scared of birds. Birds don't pop up that often in horror, but when they do, they're like a terrifying presence. And I have a theory that this is connected somewhat. I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not, but I have a theory that is connected to something in the mammalian brain, from back when our ancestors were little rodents, and these thunder beasts ruled the air, Archaeopteryx and whatever. And we had to hide from these terrifying predators in the skies, so there's something in the human brain that's still like deeply fearful and scared and weirded out by birds. And probably the most prominent example is the scene in It where Pennywise changes into a big clown bird and chases Mike Hanlon up a factory pipe. That one's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's like a pretty common thing if you look for it. Birds in horror. It's really interesting if you think about it. But that's what Heron Observations does. It plays on the innate fear of birds that people have and the kind of like weird response that we've got to them. And I'm very proud of Heron Observations. So yeah, herons don't have teeth, but that's on purpose. So don't worry about it. Comment number 7, this one's very common, is something like, I'm listening to this while I'm sleeping. Either, oh wow, Wendigoon's voice is so relaxing, or I listened to this and it spooked me and now I can't sleep. I don't know, is Wendigoon that relaxing a narrator? I can't say he's like ASMR content exactly. I had no idea so many people listen to like long form analyses and breakdowns and video essays while they're sleeping. I tend to watch videos while I'm awake so that I can pay attention, and I don't know how well you would even be able to like remember important details of an ARG or something if it's sleepy time for you. And it doesn't seem like a very good way to engage with ARGs as a medium because they're kind of like detail oriented and kind of require a lot of conscious thought. More so, I'd recommend watching an actual Hypnagogic Archive video while you're falling asleep. Fuck, that could be interesting. Make a playlist, listen to all of them one after the other. That'd be kind of weird and interesting because they're kind of ambient, I imagine, the sounds that they make. But in terms of Wendigoon's video, I don't know if it's best watched while sleeping. Maybe you should just like wake up and watch it while you're awake. When you're asleep, you should just maybe sleep. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned, I guess. Heck, I don't know what people do these days. Maybe they fucking play tennis while they're asleep or something. Number 8. Just like the Magnus Archive comparison, this one really gets on me. When they compare Genetic Opportunity to Long Dream by Junji Ito. This comparison gets made all the fucking time for no reason. I have no idea why, because just like Magnus Archive, it's such a weirdly specific comparison to make. I imagine it's because people only read manga these days, but there's so many dream-oriented stories and shit. The ones out there that are probably way more like Genetic Opportunity than Long Dream. I've looked up Long Dream, and the plot is nothing like Genetic Opportunity. And, there's like Dream of Doom from Weird Science, but nobody reads EC Comics, so nobody knows what Dream of Doom is. But then everyone knows Long Dream. So, it's just like yet another example of people being unaware of dream-based narrative, as far as America goes anyway, because there's plenty of stories about dreams. I'd say Dream of Doom was a pretty big influence on me, at least while I was compiling Hypnagogic Archives. It's kind of like Perchance the Dream from the Twilight Zone, but it actually predates it. Dream of Doom is a damn interesting comic. Way better than Long Dream. I'm not really a big Junji Ito fan. Again, if you are, cool, I guess. It always just kind of hits me as try-hard. It's like style over substance, the girl with the fucking spiral ham brain. And it's like, you know a brain wouldn't be that, like, perfect cut if you, like, cut into it, right? Like, it'd be messy, because it's like it's a fucking organ. But I guess he thinks everyone's heads are made out of paper mache or whatever. A spider cat and all this try-hard shit. I don't really like Junji Ito, but, you know, hey, if you think it's like Long Dream, go off, I guess. I really don't think Genetic Opportunity has that much in common with Long Dream. Above all, it just really upsets me that people keep comparing the same exact story to the same exact fucking thing. Like, that's their only point of comparison. It's the only point of reference they've got for something, is this one fucking story. It's like, expand your oeuvre a little. Read some more stories and shit. There's so many you could compare shit to. Just like, stop just comparing everything to Junji Ito. Anyway, yeah, just yet another weird fucking comparison that everyone makes. I don't know why. Moving on. Up next, we got I Wish I Had a Chloe. In other words, they talk about Requiem for Steve as if Chloe is like a great character. And most of these commenters, I imagine, are lonely, pathetic, dipshit type guys who can't get a girlfriend. And those type guys are my least favorite type of guy. I don't really like any guys, but the guys that just whine and complain about how they can't get a girlfriend are the most fucking annoying, because as an asexual who doesn't even want a girlfriend, I'm just like, what the fuck are you complaining about? Yeah, this comment is really weird. I guess it's just that they missed the entire point of the story, which is that, like, Chloe is an insane stalker and psychopath. And I made the story specifically to kind of serve as a cautionary tale against this kind of obsessive stalker behavior, because it can be very self-destructive. But just instead of using the typical archetype of the overly obsessed guy who stalks the girl, because that plot's kind of done to death, I decided to make it the overly obsessed girl who stalks the guy, because that's less common, all things considered, and it's also kind of more interesting. But now a bunch of people have, like, felt that, like, Chloe should be their waifu or something. God, the internet is so fucking deranged sometimes. No, I guarantee you don't want a Chloe in your life. You don't want a Chloe. She's not worth it, you know. Just settle the fuck down and, you know, take a chill pill. But yeah, that's just kind of weird. And it's kind of sad, you know. It's the predictable response. Oh, here's a story about this, like, sexual harassment and assault, and, like, oh, you know, it's the same, you know, double standard that, like, female rapists are held to. Oh, I wish that was happening to me. Oh, damn, you know, that guy is lucky he got assaulted and raped, because I wish that happened to me, because I'm horny and I don't have standards or morality. You know, just kind of this cringe response. You know, stalking and harassment isn't cool, no matter which gender does it. If someone says to leave them alone, you know, take a step back, relax. It's not the end of the world. You know, just fucking be a mature person at the end of the day. Well, that's what Requiem for Steve was mainly about. It's just kind of like, you know, instead of like the guy being the stalker, it's the girl being a stalker. It's a subversion of expectations, and also you start the story out thinking Chloe's kind of normal, and as the story goes on, you realize, like, how fucking insane she is. So, you know, it's interesting like that, but that's like a very, very predictable, deranged response that I can't say I understand any. But then, you know, hey, I'm asexual, I'm aromantic, so I don't know anything about how relationships work, so maybe you know better than I do. Just a little honorable mention here, but there's a lot of comments about how everyone is a ghost, or some characters who, like, clearly aren't ghosts are ghosts, and this is all just because of longing for something greater. Again, because Wendigoon's videos only cover, like, the first 20 or so stories out of, like, I think a total, you know, 30 or so. It's really expanded a lot, the lore's expanded a lot, so his videos are very outdated at this point. Some people just focus on particular stories like Wastewater or Longing for Something Greater, so they're like, everyone's a ghost. What if everyone's a ghost, even these characters who are clearly not ghosts? like in Ellis' final thoughts, Shelby says that Ellis has been like dead for a long time, but like metaphorically, not literally. Ellis isn't like literally dead, and even by the end, he's not necessarily dead. He might technically be alive in some otherworldly plane of being beyond our comprehension, but no, for all intents and purposes, Shelby isn't dead, Ellis isn't dead, Dan isn't dead, Javier isn't dead. They're not dead. They're not ghosts. That's just in longing for something greater that there's the ghost stuff. Everywhere else, someone says they're alive, yeah, they're pretty much alive. Like even in Call and Response, Opal's alive. It's just like the Hat Man's, sick illusion or whatever that he's putting on. So, yeah, like I see way so many theories about like, oh, is secretly a ghost. Oh, is secretly dead. Or that like Ellis is in the walls, or yeah, there's also a heavy focus on, oh, Ellis is in the walls, or someone's in the walls. Like that was just kind of a little tidbit. It wasn't meant to be like a major story beat. You don't need to really worry about what's in the walls. Like, yeah, something's in the walls, but it's not like a major thing. So you don't need to worry about that. There are a lot of weird theories. All kinds of theories in the comments that are like clearly from people who've only watched Wendigoon's videos and didn't like actually go to the site and read the stories, because the stories explain pretty much everything that happens, at least like the important stuff that you really need to know. So I don't know why so many people are coming up with fan canon, but hey, go off, I guess. I don't really care. Okay, and finally, the most common comment I see in both Wendigoon video comment sections. Where's the third part? Or where's an update? Or hey, did you make a new one? Because people want a third Wendigoon video about Hypnagogic Archive. I personally have no control over this. I've emailed Wendigoon and I was like, hey, want to do an interview? Want to cover more Hypnagogic Archive stuff? Want to, see what my perspective is? Because I see all these interviews of like Alex Kister, who I think is a total clod, Remy Abode, all these other creators who use crappy VHS filters and don't know jack from squat. And I think it's unfair that I haven't gotten my 15 minutes of fame yet, and no one big like Nightmind or whatever has invited me on as an important piece of analog horror history to talk. But ultimately what this boils down to is that I'm autistic, and autistic people, whether you like to admit this or not, are a disenfranchised group in today's society. Partially this is because autistic people aren't the best at communication and aren't the best at appealing to people and reaching a mass market type audience and giving in to big demands. But I just can't do that. I can conduct an interview. In fact, I'd like to, and I think it's very unfair that I haven't been given that opportunity like some of the big famous head honcho type figures of the analog horror circuit have. I hope to eventually. But it could be that Wendigoon has seen some of the fake rumors about me being a crazy person or whatever that have floated around online due to a targeted harassment campaign against autistic people. And that could be. But you'd kind of have to be a hypocrite to refuse to give me a platform on the basis that there are unfounded accusations of me being like transphobic or whatever going around, considering that he's also been accused unfoundedly of being transphobic. So you'd think he'd kind of know what targeted online harassment is and be aware that like people can just say anything about anyone to discredit them or harm their reputation. And, I would hope that we'd be able to have a mature, interesting discussion about this and sort of what it implies for the state of online creation and media production generally. But I doubt that he's intentionally avoiding an interview with me. He's probably just busy, and that's okay. He makes like good videos. They're pretty decent. I like his videos. You should go check them out. He makes good stuff. But I imagine he's just busy, so he doesn't have time to interview me. That's okay. Whatever. He doesn't have to, but I'd like that. Or at the very least, I think he owes it to his viewers to make a third Hypnagogic Archive video about the newer stuff, because it's pretty cool and people want that. Like, people are clearly asking for it over and over again in his comment section. It's getting kind of repetitive at this point, like a lot of these comments, and I just find it weird that he hasn't. But I think what he assumed when he put those initial 2 videos out is, oh, I'll give this project a life of its own. Oh wow, I'll let my fans figure it out. I'll let them do the sleuthing, and I'll just give them a little start, a little nudge in the right direction. But what Wendigoon doesn't seem to understand is that his fans entirely rely on him to relay information. Like, they're incapable of figuring things out on their own, or like looking up stuff. They just like watch his videos and not much else. They don't like, watch like smaller videos about Hypnagogic Archive or anything. They just watch his videos. So he really shouldn't have like introduced all these fascinating puzzles and then just like drawn out and just like dipped, because it's unsatisfying. There should be a conclusion. There should be an end point. So yeah, Wendigoon, if you're watching this, just make a third one already. Heck, you don't even have to interview me. Just make a third one. And I'm not asking for me, but your fans want it, so like do it. It's getting annoying at this point. And it's kind of sad that I, as the creator of Hypnagogic Archive, has to like argue on behalf of your fan base. Like, you should be the one catering to the needs of your fan base. But I guess we're at that point. Again, I made a video about this a while back. It's a weird media landscape where like actual creators like myself, the ones who do the heavy lifting, the ones who come up with new ideas and concepts and thoughts, we're kind of the ones who get sidelined in favor of the analysis figures, the people who just kind of talk about stuff. And that's weird. It's weird to have actual content deprioritized over like an analysis of said content. That's a weird way for the YouTube landscape to operate, but it's how we currently are. It's the state we're currently in. So all I would ask is that the people whose role it is to like analyze content do a good job of it and are sufficient. But I think Wendigoon is pretty good at it for all intents and purposes, and hopefully this video is just kind of a neat little resource for those of you who leave comments on Wendigoon's videos. Just know that I read them. Heck, maybe Wendigoon doesn't, but I sure the fuck notice them and take notice, and I hear you, and I hear what you're saying out there. So, if you have any questions about what's canon or not in Hypnagogic Archive lore, fuck it, just ask me. I know all of it, because it all came out of my fucking mind, And what I find especially offensive is like some people are like, oh, Wendigoon probably made this ARG. He probably made it. He probably is like a plant, and he's like advertising his own ARG. It's like, no, I made it. I'm an autistic person from Denver, and I make stuff. I made Hypnagogic Archive. I made your favorite story ever that you like so much. So, I'd like some credit and recognition now. But hey, that's just how the cookies crumble, I guess, here on the wacky internet. Don't you love it? Anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say for now. If you're watching Wendigoon, love to do an interview with you. Love to talk, or just do a third one, because it's time. But anyway, yeah, that's it for now. Keep the archives running, yo.